Better late than never. My apologies, friends. See, that involves math, and I'm not good at it. Thank you for doing the show. It is Ariel Helwani. Good morning.
So yesterday you laid on sick. You say, "Oh, do you have time for us little people in Sacramento, the 916?"
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Give me the time. I'll do it. No problem. And then here I am.
Yeah.
It's 10:36 Eastern, 37, 38, 39, 40, and then I don't want to be the guy to send the text.
I know.
But, I mean,
it's a great text too. Good reference with the Bueller.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. So in any event, I'm happy to be here despite your tardiness.
Yeah, I apologize. It's just nothing new. You're used to my failings. Ariel, I have a lot to talk to you about. I think I've been on your show since the last time you were on this show when we did a wonderful Uriah.
Yeah, who's bigger than who now these days? I mean, I have you on my show, and you're too big to have me on your show.
Someone's got a much more busy schedule. I remember being on vacation. See, I was on vacation. Ariel calls. I listen. I pick up. I drive to a spot where I had fairly good reception, not perfect, and we did a nice Uriah Faber retrospective as I wear my Team Alpha Male shirt, which you can see on the stream. But I haven't gotten a chance to ask you, I don't believe. Ariel Helwani, noted diehard Expos fan. Were you able to enjoy the Nationals winning the World Series? I know you've been asked this, or was it bittersweet?
Are you kidding me? Okay, that's two strikes, because first you're late. Now you're going to ask me about the Nationals winning the World Series, which was one of the lowest moments of my sports fandom life.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing that pissed me off more last October when people would come up to me and be like, "Aren't you happy that your team won?" That team has nothing to do with the Montreal Expos. The Montreal Expos died in 2004. They don't respect our history. They have nothing. They don't have the same colors. They don't have the same name. They hardly honor the legends.
Yeah.
Once a year they'll trot out the old Expos jerseys just to sell some merchandise and stuff like that. No, I have no love for that team. I was sad when they won. I was openly rooting against them. I want nothing to do with the Washington Nationals. And I have to say, while I hate what has happened to this world, and I have, my fears about the return of baseball, they're not getting their usual ring ceremony. And I will just leave it at that. I'm a bitter fan.
I understand.
I'm a bitter fan. I will fully admit that. I'm a very, very bitter fan. In fact, I'm wearing a Tim Raines t-shirt right now. I'll send you a picture just to prove it.
You see, I thought you would say that. The only reason I asked, because again, you know very well the fight for the Kings here in Seattle, and it would be like asking me if the Sonics won the NBA title, had the Kings moved to Seattle, would I have enjoyed it? And the answer, I would have had the same answer. I probably would have been more profane than you. You're far more professional. But I've heard a number of Expo fans say they took pride in it. And I had to ask you, you're the one I trust. I don't see that. I don't understand how it wouldn't make your blood boil. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know who those fans are. Who are those fans?
I don't know who
They're
they
not
are.
Real fans, if you ask me. Because again, I love the Expos. Do you see my text?
You just sent me the shirt. It's a cartoon caricature of the great Tim Raines in Expo gear. Look at that. Look at you. Die hard.
Listen, this is a lifestyle, all right? I am a hardcore fan, and I will be so happy when they return, and they will return in my life, in my lifetime. I feel strongly about that. But no, I've never understood fans like that. To me, it's about the city. It's about my people being happy. It's about the jersey and the name on the jersey and the front of the jersey and all that. And I feel for the Sonics fans who had to watch the Thunder go to the finals in 2011 and all the things that I hate that. And by the way, a lot of people ask me, "Oh, do you want to steal the Rays?" And I don't want to wish that upon anyone because I know there's a 16-year-old kid, like I was a 16-year-old kid who's worried about his team leaving. I hate when people say, "Oh, they don't have real fans." No, they do. Just because they don't go to the ballpark doesn't mean that they're not real fans. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into that. So yeah, that bums me out. And I also don't want to be one of those people who roots for the demise of others. But I will admit that the Expos and the demise of the Expos is a very sore subject.
ESPN's Ariel Helwani joining us. I will tweet out the link to his excellent podcast that he does. Also, a lot of fun with Chael Sonnen throughout the years, who is a character in himself from this neck of the woods. I was watching some of the post-fight press conference with Dana. And he asked at one point, Ariel, he asked the media members if anybody had scored the fight for Volkanovski, the Volkanovski Holloway fight, and nobody spoke up. And I don't know if that's just because they didn't want to get the wrath of Dana, or if nobody scored it that way. I had it incredibly close, but I had 3-4-5 for Volkanovski. I can certainly see how that would be a wrong card. I didn't see it as a robbery. Am I off the mark? How did you have that fight?
So I had it 1, 2, and 5 for Max, 3 and 4 for Volkanovski, but I couldn't agree with you more. That wasn't a robbery, and people are killing me for saying I picked Max to win.
Right.
I thought Max. I scored it in favor of Max, and yet just because Max didn't win, and by the way, one of the judges gave it to Max, 2 gave it to Volkanovski. That's why he won. That doesn't make it a robbery. A robbery to me is when you have a fight that's very clearly 3 rounds to none or 4-1 in favor of one guy and the other guy wins. That's a robbery. But when you have a fight, by the way, all 3 judges agreed on the first 4 rounds. All 3 judges had it 1-2 for Max, 3-4 for Volkanovski, 2 had 5 for Volkanovski, 1 had 5 for Max. That to me is just a really, really close fight.
Sure.
It's not a robbery. It's just a really close competitive fight. And we can debate like the semantics all we want. At the end of the day, they gave the nod to Volkanovski. I don't think this is one of the more egregious ones. Like I thought Dominic Reyes, John Jones was way worse than this one.
Yeah.
I thought Dominic Reyes won that fight, very clearly won the first 3 rounds. This is just going to keep happening. It will happen tomorrow. It will happen the next day. Why? Because the 10-point must system in MMA doesn't work. It's a boxing scoring system. It's too subjective. It doesn't take into account all the intricacies of mixed martial arts. And so when you have these really, really close fights, you're going to see sometimes these decisions that a lot of people disagree with.
Well, and that's a perfect segue. Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas. I thought that was an incredibly easy fight to score. Rose had the first 2 rounds, and Jessica had the 3rd round. But there is if that thing goes 5 rounds, or 4 even, Rose was getting busted up. Would you look at that fight as an example of maybe where that scoring difference would take effect? Rose clearly won the fight. I don't think we disagree with that. But, man, the overall war, it looked like Jessica was she has a case.
Well, there was once a promotion in Japan, as you know, named Pride FC, and they used to score a fight based on the entire fight. So, like, usually, like, you know, schoolyard days, right? How do you determine who wins a schoolyard fight? It's the one who's standing at the end, right? The one who has less damage at the end. But MMA boxing, it doesn't work that way. All you have to do is win the majority of the rounds. And I thought that one was clearly in favor of Rose. She definitely won the first 2, in my opinion, and she looked really good in those first 2 rounds. And then she definitely lost the 3rd. And this happens time and again. And, you know, maybe, there's been some talk lately of open scoring. Some people like it, some people don't. I think it would be interesting to play around with, basically meaning, they announce the scorecards in between rounds so everyone knows where they stand going into the final rounds. I think that would make for a really interesting, game plan from a fighter who might be down, be a little more aggressive, things of that nature. But in this case, that one was a very easy one. One judge, by the way, scored in favor of Andrade. I don't know how that was possible. Scored the entire fight in favor of Andrade. That was a little bit weird in my opinion. But overall, really good to see Rose back because she's been through a lot over the past year, and I think she's one of the most fun fighters to watch in the UFC.
I want to go back to the Max Holloway fight just real quick as we fly through, and got to get through 2 more fights in 4 minutes. I know it's rare when you have 2 fighters and it's 0-2-2-0. Do you find an exception here? Would you want to see them run Holloway, Volkanovski back for a 3rd, or does Max need to have another fight or 2 at least?
Yeah, I think they freshen it up. You know, there's some other guys who deserve a chance to fight for the belt. You know, they're talking about booking Zabit Magomed Sharipov against Yair Rodriguez. Zabit is incredible, and if he wins that fight, he would certainly make sense. There's also a Korean Zombie out there who's looked really good as of late, fighting Brian Ortega probably later this year. So the winner of that. Look, Max is so popular now, and he handles these situations so well. I don't know if you've seen his social media, but the guy is just the ultimate class act.
Yep.
He doesn't necessarily. Some people just don't need the belt, to be honest, to be popular. Some guys do. Like Max doesn't need it. Volkanovski probably does, given where he's at in his career right now. So Max will be fine. And if one of those guys wins, then all of a sudden, Max has never fought those guys before, other than Ortega. That's a fresh matchup for him, and that's an opportunity for him to get back in there. So it's worth also noting that Max is under 30. He's 28, I believe. Like, the guy still has a lot more to go, and I don't think that he's going to be suffering as a result of this. And sometimes there's actually value in being the uncrowned champ, in being the guy who was robbed, because people, are a little more emotionally invested in you and love you. So he'll be fine. But I say they switch it up.
Ariel Helwani joining us, and I want to try to sneak in Petr Yan, Jose Aldo, two guys, speaking of Uriah Faber, that I've seen have devastating results against my guy, but so much respect for both of them, and obviously, especially Aldo. That fight was the least controversial. I mean, that fight was a very easy fight to tell who won. I want to ask you, Ariel, something I've always wondered about Jose Aldo. I've never seen a more devastating kick output than Aldo Faber, and you would, I'm sure, agree with me. Mm-hmm. And through the years, I feel like Jose has gotten away from those kicks. We saw him have success, especially in the first 2 rounds against Yan, with his kicking ability, but he seems to go away from it. And I'm very curious, in your opinion, is this because people have learned and they're defending it? Is this a mental thing with Aldo? Is it his corner? How would you explain why he's kind of gone away over the years from what I think is one of the most devastating weapons anyone has in the entire sport?
So, I don't know if, do you hear that? I hear like a news report right now, so I can't really hear your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's probably something on our board because we're getting something filed in. Let me turn that down. Is that better? Can you hear me okay? Ariel?
No, I hear something about COVID-19. Like there's like a news report going on right now. I could probably fight through it if you can hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it, but I don't want you having that in your ear.
It's gone.
Okay, it's gone.
It's gone.
Perfect.
So you were asking why doesn't he use the light kicks as much?
Yes. In your opinion.
Yeah, that's a tough. Yan is really good, and I agree with you. I think that he did have success with that early on. But man, that guy is so good. He is so strong. I think he's going to be a champion for a while. And Aldo, it's amazing. Aldo's still below 35. I think he's 33, which is just mind blowing considering how long he's been in the game. And I think people adjust well to them, and they don't want to get hit by them. And obviously, they hurt really. They hurt really bad. They're incredibly lethal. But I just think that he's been in a lot of wars, and people have kind of figured him out at this point. So I give him a lot of credit, a lot of respect to Jose Aldo. I didn't think he should have been in the title fight, to be honest. I think there were other people who were more deserving. 0-1 going into that fight as a bantamweight, but he fought valiantly. The end was the worst part. Like that fight should have been stopped 2-3 minutes before. He was taking way too much damage, in my opinion. And I get that the referee wanted to give him respect, allow him to fight back, but it should have stopped, and he's going to pay for that later on. So the big story in that fight was like Yan. To me, he was the lock of the night, and he proved to be that, and I think he's going to be a champ for a while.
Well, that's where I was going to end up. Do you think he's holding the belt for Moraes? Or to me, Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan is, I can't get my head around that matchup more. I want to see that so badly, and it doesn't look like we're getting that anytime right away. But who do you think has the first claim?
No, I think we are getting it.
Do you?
Sterling. Yeah, that's the guy for sure, in my opinion. I mean, if they don't give it to him, that's just crazy. So I think we will get that. I'm equally as interested in the fight. I would favor right now Yan going into that fight, but Sterling has looked phenomenal. His last win against Corey Sandhagen was amazing. So I wouldn't look past him too much. But I'm really high on Petr Yan. I really think he's going to be one of the greats for a while.
And last thing for you, undercard fight. A lot of people pay attention to the main event. Yuri Prochazka, that kid.
Yeah.
Very interesting to me. Caught my eye maybe as much as any other fighter. Was this just styles make fights, or do you see this guy as a potentially very marketable, very interesting fighter of the future?
Yeah, people like this. His style is very unique, and he's kind of kooky out there. I will say, though, I don't think that style will take him very far in the UFC. When you start to fight the upper echelon guys, and forget about John Jones, he's at 205, but I'm even talking about the guys below John Jones. Like that style is not going to do you any favors. So I would suggest he probably keep his hands up and not act so crazy in there. But for now, he is fun. The fans like him. He certainly made an impression on Saturday. I've never been a fan of that hot dogging style. Like, it's okay to be a showman, but like to do all the theatrics in a cage fight, all it takes is one punch, and then it's like impossible to live that down, right? To come back from that. So I would highly suggest that now that he's in the UFC, he starts to tighten it up a little bit.
Well, I cost us 10 minutes with my tardiness, but check out this bio just off his Twitter account, at Ariel Helwani, ESPN journalist. Look at the shows. Ariel Helwani's MMA show, Ariel and the Bad Guy, that's Chael Sonnen, DC and Helwani, the People's MMA show, ESPN MMA Snap Show. Proud father of 3 and has still retained his mental faculties. You're the man. We go back a long, long way, and it's always a stroll down memory lane, even though we did a lot of business here. And you, in all seriousness, you're very busy, and I do appreciate you coming on our little show.
Always a pleasure. And go Kings. I'm excited.
Atta baby. Listen to you. Thanks.
I think they're going to do some good things down there in Orlando, so let's go.
You see that? He knows what market he's in. That's a real journalist right there. Love to the family. Take care, Ariel. Thank you so much.
Same to you.
All right,
thanks. It's the Carmichael Dave Show on Sports 1140 KHTK.